listening this small presentation I will have. BDOT has just constructed a roundabout, and I'll just give a brief update of what we did. And
there's just a note in the chat that your sound is not clear, and I can't hear it all that well either, even with it turned on.
Okay, right before this presentation started, it's just giving me a message that internet connection is unstable. So, sure. Can you all hear now better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Let's try and see if I can move this slides up and down. Okay. All right. So I'll just try to quickly go over it. So VDOT has just constructed this, as I said, a precast roundabout in Richmond, Virginia, the capital, and it was a ramp off I-195 to Laburnum Avenue, and the only track apron was constructed with precast concrete slabs. There was total 23 slab panels. The diameter of them was 57 feet, and the thickness of these precast panels were about 9 inches. I would not say.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Yes.
Here. You probably don't have a headset on, do you?
Yes, I do have. I don't have a camera. I do have.
Well, that's okay. I'm just saying, is sometimes your voice is coming through clearer than others. I was wondering if it's because you're turning your head looking at the screen.
Oh, okay. I was trying to keep the microphone close to my mouth when it's coming clear, I think. Okay, let me try that.
Excellent.
All the time.
Excellent.
Okay. So instead of saying benefit, I think it's the motivation why we used this roundabout, precast roundabout. We thought that it would be easier to maintain the traffic during the construction. So the construction will be faster over a weekend closure. And also, if something happens, it will be easier to replace to one panel at a time for the future maintenance. So that was the motivation why Richmond District VDOT decided to use it. The construction happened during the weekend of December 18th. The Friday night, the closure started and was supposed to open Monday early morning. It was completed successfully. It's just, as I said, the precast section was just the track apron, and the rest of it is the asphalt roundabout. This is the location. As you can see, it was on the ramp, the roundabout, Richmond, Virginia, just to give you an idea where it was. And this is the layout of the panels used for the construction. It was total 23 panels. And there are some tie bars you can see there, and also towel bars in there. All the panels were stacked and stored on site. And what I wanted to show here is the towel bar slots and towel bar here, and these are the tie bar slots. And this is the sockets for tying tie bars. So as I said, December 18th, the Friday night around 8 p.m. they closed the traffic and milled the pavement about 2 to 6 inches. So it was an asphalt pavement. They decided to leave about a couple inches of asphalt, or about 3 inches was left in there. Didn't want it to really expose what is underneath there. It creates more problem during the construction, so they decided to keep it at least some asphalt underneath there. And the next morning, they used sand cement to achieve the grade. Now, this was a difficult task because of that small area. Making one person was not that easy. It was a difficult task. So they did the best they could, and then they used less than an inch of sand cement to try to achieve the grade. It was a Saturday morning they did it. They used the dry or moist sand cement mixture and then spray water on top of it. In most areas, they did not have to compact, just spray. It was less than probably half an inch or less than an inch, basically. In few places, it was a little bit thicker, then they used a handheld vibrator to vibrate compact. This was the first center apron they installed, and they used quite extensive surveying trying to achieve the proper grade before they installed those center apron. And then you can see this tied in, screwed in divers that they used in the middle of this center apron, two-piece center apron. And then they used this joint filler type tape, polyethylene tape as a joint filler, and they glued it in. And also they used oil spray for bond breaking for when they will be grouting the dowel bar slot so that it does not bond with the other side. So panel installation continued on that day, Saturday, for the rest of the day, and they were able to finish it by then. I mean, it was at the end of the day was probably around 9 or so, and it took a while before they could start. It's about 6-7 hours it took to finish all the panels, not 23 panels installed. And then they covered it with plastic sheet because it was raining on the next day. It was supposed to rain, so that they had to cover it with plastic sheet. Here are some panel fits. In general, the panel fit was pretty good. In some places, you could see a little bit of elevation difference, and probably this joint, joint gap, or is probably the one of the worst one. You can see that most of them are pretty good. They achieve pretty good fit, I would say. And then the Sunday, around midday, they started, when the rain stopped, they started adjusting the elevation using the leveling bolts to achieve final elevation. The minor adjustment was needed. And then towards the end of the afternoon, they started grouting. Dowel bar grouts and also the bedding grout. They used the hand pump. The reason they wanted to use the hand pump is to try to minimize the spillage, because the color tone that they used for this roundabout was important. They didn't want to get it messed up, the spilling grout over. So they used hand pump, and it took a while to finish grouting. And also it was very cold that night, so they had to actually postpone the bedding grouting on Sunday night. They had to do it on Monday morning, and they eventually just opened it on Tuesday morning to the traffic, and just took one more day over the weekend to do it. And they opened it to traffic on 22nd. It was successfully completed. It is the final roundabout. I think they were still doing a little bit of final touch here and there, especially I think the joint sealing operation was done subsequent days, few of the joint sealing operation. But it's open to traffic. It was traffic was going through there, although they're doing a bit of work on the next day or so. That's all I have for the presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any question you all have. Sorry for this audio problem.
No, that was interesting. That's hot off the press. It just happened last month. Any questions?
Yes, I have one. Why did you opt for asphalt for the rest of the roundabout?
I do not have a good answer for that, but what they were thinking that this is how You don't, I mean, I can go the other way. The reason they did the concrete portion, because of the truck, they wanted to do the concrete. But the rest of, because I don't know whether it's the weather or any other reason, but in general, in Virginia, we do not have a whole lot of concrete pavement construction going on at present. But it was how it was designed. I would not have any good answer for that, why they choose one versus the other. But usually we have some sort of pavement selection they go through to decide which one to use.
Okay, thank you.
You know, this is one of those things that if you did a synthesis, you would identify, you know, that someone had used a precast for a roundabout. So otherwise, I don't know that we would have known about this without it being shared here. We have any other questions? All right.